Shut up and sit down.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the most epically overused word in cycling is epic. It seems that anything and everything is epic these days.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I like to ride my bike.
I'd like to introduce you to a podcast with a lot of charm, talent, and wit. Unfortunately, I don't have that option, so instead, you are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Tip of the day, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That said, you know what you've got to do, so go get her done.
I got fancy little streamers coming out of my handlebars. I got carts in my spokes that make sounds as it flies the cars. I got lights all around and reflectors in the back. I basket on the front and a really useful rack.
But I hate cyclists, bike riders, people who ride bicycles.
Does someone need a hug?
Oh God, here it comes. Oh, hot, 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 hot.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance Epler.
Lance Romance live in the adventure van while the dog is making some noise in the background. Can you guys here? Can describe the video I'm sending you right now?
There's some puffy blue or puffy clouds and some blue skies and some cactus, and looks like you're in Utah.
Looks like I'm in St. George, Utah. We came down here after spending the weekend up in Provo, Salt Lake area, but then it started snowing, so I got the heck out of there. So
Gotcha.
Now I'm down here.
Also today on Skype, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and I can't do my intro either. I don't even know what I'm saying. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You got to learn how to do your intro.
Hi, Matt. And sitting across the small table from me today, Mr. Evan Price.
I know. I think I'm the only one in the studio this morning. It's basically just me and Jake, and we got not a lot of drinks on the table.
Just an empty coffee thing. I need to go make some coffee. Now that you mention it.
This is the issue, is we don't have enough drinks. Matt is maybe drinking a seltzer water right now. I'm not sure. And I'm sure Lance is probably drinking an energy drink.
I'm actually drinking Athletic Greens to get all your... I did a little ride this morning, and this is my recovery this morning to make sure I get all my greens in for the day.
What about your Athletic Reds?
No, only greens.
I've seen that they have a few different colors in that company.
Oh, I only know about green.
Awesome.
But
how about we get into some backpedaling? Mr. Matt, you there? Matt, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Good. All right, we got a little, everything's all over the place, and I don't know, it's all new and different.
It's hard.
It's hard.
This remote stuff is hard. Backpedal for me can be pretty quick because I rode Zwift. I have not missed a day yet, but I have no idea what day we are on. I'm guessing we're getting close to 80. I don't know.
Today will be 83.
Today is 83.
Today's 83?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm at 82. I need to ride today.
Good for you.
I did a workout with Evan on Friday, and man, I was sore. Like a super early morning workout with Evan, like kind of a PT type exercise.
Yep.
Super cool. But then my knee was sore and I was like hurting on the bike pedaling. So I've been soft pedaling for a couple of days, but I'll be ready to go hard on Tuesday for the Dialed group ride, which all of our listeners should hop in on. That's usually at like 6:30 on Tuesday nights.
6:30 Pacific time. Yep.
I know these Friday workouts for Matt may end up ruining his 1 hour streaks. My goal is to make sure he can't spin for 1 hour after one of them.
Yeah, they hurt. And I did go for a run. I went over to the track, the Camus track, and I think that the flat track surface is going to be easier on my Achilles. And so I'm trying to do that a little bit and brought the whole family over to the track. and brought camera stuff, flew the drone, just for fun, and tested, like, there's a new Garmin activity that's called Track Run, where it's supposed to track your run a little bit tighter around tracks and things like that. So I tested that, and, it's a little bit off. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. Also swam this week. Been getting back in the pool a little bit. I think I swam twice, which is good for me. Took a month off, basically, and able to get back in the water, which is really nice. So I think it'll take a little while before I'm kind of back to my old form, but it does feel nice to get in there and do a little swimming.
Nice. Everything else good?
Yeah, no real major adventures. I really don't think I even took the bike out on the road this past week. And I know the next 2 weeks are going to be awfully rainy. So I'm kind of regretting some decisions that I could have blown off some other stuff and actually gone outside, which I should have done. But work's super busy, and I'm actually coaching cross country right now. But so that's once a week, which kind of cuts down on a little bit of opportunities to get out and do my own thing. But it's busy as always.
Good.
Still making it work.
Cool.
Matt, where are you guys doing your practices right now?
Actually, we did like a 5K time trial on our Saturday workout this past Saturday, and so that was good. Kids did well. Fairly flat course, kind of on campus 2-loop, and the kids are great. Some of them can just, like, no problem, conversational run 6 flat pace, and others of them are just, like, fighting hard to hang on, walking some, running some. And so we have a huge wide variety of talent, and we just try to break everyone up into different groups. For one, because we don't want to spread disease, and for two, I think it just makes it a little bit easier on all these athletes, just kind of like, hey, here's a group that we think you're going to mesh well with, and they do get some of that social activity, because with the lockdowns and stuff like that going on across the world, like, I think it's important for these kids to at least have some social activity. So
good. Cool. Mr. Hepler, you there?
Yes, I am.
What's cracking?
I'm still in Utah. So, I guess the reason I came down here, because trying to do this cyclocross series that's in Utah, and I lined up for the 5th race in the series this last Saturday. It was actually held at Soldier Hollow, which when the Olympics were in Utah in 2002, the Soldier Hollow venue was built for the biathlon and for cross-country skiing. And so the cyclocross race was actually on the biathlon course at the biathlon venue. It was really pretty cool. So I raced in the 45-plus division. Again, there was only 14 people in my division. And the gun went off. I won the whole shot. It was an 8-lap race, and at the end of the first lap, I had a 15-second lead. I had kind of pulled it out, and I never lost it. The guys never they never caught me. I ended up winning by about 50 seconds. So I led from wire to wire this time. It was fun.
Way to do your part in social distancing.
Nice job, Lance. Congrats.
It was pretty crazy. The after the first lap, the group behind me, it was 6 guys, and they were all together trying to catch me, but they were letting one guy stay on the front. They weren't rotating poles at all, and it's kind of hard to rotate poles in cyclocross races, but they weren't rotating at all, and I just managed to keep running away from them. So super fun. 5th race, I won again. I was super excited. My wife and 2 of my kids were there. My nephew came. I had lots of cheering sessions. The race organizers actually pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you race in Portland. How do our courses compare? Give us some feedback," which was kind of cool. And so,
what was your response?
That's it. Well, I found that the courses in Portland tend to be more technical. There's not so many long power sections that there are out here. And that's the thing. They put harder features in the race, especially Cyclocross Crusade. There's always difficult features. There's more run-ups and whatnot.
Gotcha.
So, but we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
So it was a good time. Everything else, I've just been screwing around in Utah. To kind of update you, the state of Utah, the governor declared a state of emergency yesterday, which would be Sunday evening. COVID cases have been rising here. The hospitals are near capacity. And so he declared a state of emergency, which is a mask mandate for the entire state and limiting gatherings of 5 people or more. No gatherings of 5 people or more. So, and that's supposed to last for 2 weeks. So the next 2 cyclocross races have both been canceled at this point, which is the appropriate thing to do. I felt safe during the races, just staying away from people, but racing doesn't matter with these types of things. We need to be safe, and so we have we've moved south. We are trying to stay away from people. We will probably head to Nevada or Arizona for a couple days before we head home, but we're trying to be very responsible about all this stuff too. So.
Gotcha.
We'll see how it rolls. That's it.
Well, hope that goes well for you, man. Be safe.
Yes.
Yep. Mr. Price, you want to backpedal?
Yeah. Last week, pretty uneventful, except for Saturday we did the Michael Myers Memorial Ride, which was good. I'm sure Jake will go into more detail with that. We had good weather for like a second on it, and then it was just towards the end. I think it started to rain on us just a bit.
Wet and cold.
Yeah, that ride, it was almost the same exact weather last year, wasn't it?
It was,
It was like chilly and then kind of rained towards the end there. But honestly, through the core of the ride, it was fine. It's, mid-40s, just enough to take out the cold gear for really the first ride of the year. Like, it's like probably a winter gear type ride.
Yeah.
Which is good to finally fish that stuff out. Outside of that, I got some tough news for anybody who's been around the Dialed Endurance Lab. You know that I'm a proactive physical therapist, and that's a partnership between the Dialed Endurance Lab, the space itself, and myself. As I'm an employee of Proactive, a physical therapist with them, and Proactive is a pretty cool story. They're a local physical therapy clinic that was started by 3 men, Chris, Larry, and Steve, here in Vancouver and North Oregon. And for a long time was really only a few clinics. It's only just recently grown to about 15 clinics, including Central Oregon now. But for a long time was very, very local between the Portland-Vancouver area. And one of those owners, the original guys who started the company, his name was Steve Allstott, and Steve passed away on Saturday, and he was a pretty awesome guy, and is really a big part of the reason why I moved out here. Actually, when I did my interview with Ryan Nall, who's a good friend of mine, clinic director, and now part owner too, who's been like another son to Steve. I'm really involved in the endurance community in Ohio, and I wanted to find another community that was like that. And when I first made contact with Proactive, now almost 5 years ago, one of the first stories I heard in people I talked to, and I'm sure Ryan told him that I'm a cyclist and runner, but Steve was a very avid cyclist, and he actually started Proactive on a bike ride with Chris. They were talking about how much they hated their kind of corporate PT jobs, as they called it. Their big institution, places that have hundreds and hundreds of clinics, and they were like, we want to start something small and local and something that we can grow ourselves. And they did that on a bike ride. And Steve Steve was somebody who actually previously in his life, I think it was right after he told me the story 4 or 5 times, and it was always cooler each time he told it. But he right out of college, before he went to PT school, had decided that he was just going to like ride his bike. I think at that time it was from like Chicago, Illinois, and he rode his bike out to Portland just on a whim. It was like a very last minute decision with somebody he had met for like 2-3 weeks. And they were just like we always joke on this show, it's like, you know, oh, you like bikes, I like bikes, we're best friends now, and let's jump on a bike and ride across the country. But Steve was an avid cyclist his whole life, and somebody who, it was refreshing for me, him being a big mentor, and me from a physical therapy standpoint, but just a life standpoint too, is he was never that competitive of a cyclist. He always told me he never really, and I think he had mentioned this to Jake too, he never really wanted to race. He just wanted to ride his bike and have fun. And being, when I came out here, being a mid-20s person who really seems to focus way too much on power numbers and race results, it was a pretty important weekend to kind of review that and remember why I ride bikes, and it is because of people like Steve. And it's this terrible irony that it's the same day of the year that we lost Mike Myers 2 years ago, Dr. Mike Myers, and it's a special and a terrible day at the same time. So that's just kind of where my head's at today, is just thinking about Steve and Mike. So, yeah.
Rough times, man. Steve was a good guy.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. He's just one of those guys that you don't meet many people like him, where you just like instantly connect with a guy because he's just such a nice guy, just salt of the earth, just like Michael Myers was. And, you know, there was, he was completely transparent. There was nothing like complicated about him. He was just easygoing, like really easygoing. And you just got a sense like, this is a good person. He's going to tell you how it is. He's like super nice. It's just like,
I still remember one of the, when he told me this, so Steve had retired actually last year. Basically after
in May.
Yeah. It was like a month or two after the clinic opened, and I remember I sat down with him at Detaza, which is where me and Steve did all of our meetings. Actually, now I think about it, anytime he was like, "Hey, we need to meet," it was I would never meet him at the clinic. We'd always just go over to Detaza, and I just remember he kind of sat down and I was telling him how nervous I was about opening the clinic, and I really was apprehensive about it. This is before COVID. You know, there was obviously, if I had known COVID was going to happen, I would have been even more apprehensive about opening the clinic. But Steve was like Jake said, you just felt comfortable with him, and he told me at that time, he said, "Hey, just so you know, I haven't told too many people this, but I'm going to retire here coming up." Which was a big thing for him to share with an employee of his, and I really do believe Steve was very much a mentor to me, so I think he felt comfortable sharing that. But he had told me, he's like, you know, now that I'm at the end of my career, he's like, if you had gone back in time and told me all the hard parts of starting Proactive, he's like, I still would have done it on that day. And I think that was big for me to hear at that time. Somebody who was at the end of their career and had gone through everything, and just having him there at that time was important. And it wasn't even. It was never a business meeting with Steve. It was always if I had told him at that moment I want to leave Proactive, he would have been in full support of that and done everything that he could have to help me with the next step. But it was just somebody who, when you sat down, you felt like that he always had your best interest. And I think he was with that, with patience, with people who knew him business wise. I don't think it mattered. And you know, I'm hoping the day I retire, I can kind of say the same thing about myself, definitely. But rest in peace, Steve. You will be sorely missed by this community.
Gotcha. Well, probably should have finished with you today.
I know that one was not to throw, you know, Steve, I really think loved talking about bikes more than anything. So today, talking about bikes on a podcast is probably the best way you can remember Steve.
There's some therapy for you, right?
Absolutely,
there. Absolutely,
yeah.
I'll run through mine real quick before we lead out some news. We did the Dialed Zwift team ride, and I figured out really quickly that if you try and time it just right where your guy's going to coast downhill so you can go have a quick nature break, And if you don't time that just right, you're going to get dropped by about 3 minutes. And that happened to me on the team right before we hit the hot section, which I know that it wasn't a long sustained climb for the hot section that we had dialed up for that particular ride. And I'm like, all right, I got to get over here because I really had to go to the bathroom. So I came back and my guy hit like a little bump in the road that went up and he just stopped and then I got dropped completely. So I ended up doing it was almost a 30-minute time trial trying to catch anybody that I possibly could. But it was still fun to watch how you guys explode and go up. What was it? The Titans Grove.
Oh, you guys do
Titans Grove scale.
Yeah, there was the Titans Grove.
Yeah, that's definitely not long enough to stand for a bathroom break. That's a very short descent.
It is, and I just had to go. I'm like, all right, this is the only spot where it goes downhill. And for those of you that don't ride on Zwift or know what I'm talking about, usually you can get off your bike when there's a descent, and your guy will almost just hold his speed if you go quickly. Like the best is coming off of the Box Hill and a few other like the mountain climbs and whatnot. You can run to the bathroom and your guy's going 40 miles an hour while you're doing your thing, and you come back and you jump back on, you're right back in the mix of things. Well, my guy hit a bump and stopped. So fast forward to Saturday, we did the Michael Myers ride that Evan alluded to. We had a decent group of guys, despite the fact that the weather was pretty bad, and it's been getting cold. I think when we left, it was upper 30. When I left my house to drive over to the meeting spot, it was 37 degrees. And then it started to rain, and it got pretty cold back in the Washougal Hills. But we all went out and had a good time. It was good to see people. It was, again, just kind of therapeutic to remember Michael and to go out to his tree and see his view of Multnomah Falls and just kind of think about him on the day. And then just did a nice little gravel recovery ride with Sean yesterday, who is really stinking strong right now. Have you guys ridden with Sean Martin lately?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I talked to him like at the beginning of this Dialed 100, and he was like, Matt, if I bike, he's like, I've never biked that many days in a row. He's like, if I bike 100 days in a row, I'm going to be pretty freaking fit. And I was like, you're already pretty fit. And yes, you are going to be super fit when it all comes together.
He's pretty fit off just 5-6 hours a week previously. I mean, I know he said his sweet spot when he was talking was like 8 hours a week, but even for a while there was only riding 5 or 6.
He's done nothing but get stronger over the last year and a half and changed ever since we had our accident. And since then, like once he was able to get back on the bike and he started back into a training program to get fit and ready for team training camp. And it's been like no looking back. The guy is just like gotten crazy strong. I can't keep up with him on anything that goes uphill now, but that's partly my fault. I need to lose weight.
Sean's always been a good solid, really, what would the term be? Rollier, probably. Yeah, but he'll stick for a long extended climb. He'll still sit there and sit in and put out good power and respond.
Well, he and Dr. Hannell and a few others were mixing it up on a lot of the climbs on Saturday, and it was like he's climbing like it's nobody's business right now. So
yeah, he was fourth up the climb on. I think he was right behind Elijah. I think.
Yeah,
who had a great climb on Saturday. Yeah,
Elijah's doing really well as well.
Climbed very well. Yeah.
So anyway, that was my week. Nothing special. Just looking forward to another cold, wet, rainy week. We'll be doing some trainer rides and go out and freeze my backside off this coming weekend.
I think the next 10 days all look like rain in the low 40s, high 30s. So
welcome to November.
Yep.
Hey, Champ. Oh wait, Champ's not here. Is Champ? Hello.
Yeah, Champ is right here.
Oh, okay.
Champ is right here.
I wasn't
in
sure
the house.
if I added him to Skype or not. What up, Champ?
What up? What you want to know?
Lead out some news. What's going on in the cycling world?
The biggest thing that happened this last week is the Vuelta a España finished up. Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
yesterday. So, kind of exciting. Yes, it was won by Primož Roglič. He won by a whopping 24 seconds. So, it was still a pretty tight race. The interesting thing to note, he beat Carapaz, who was second, and then I believe Hugh Carthy from EF Education First was third.
Yeah.
So,
now, the interesting part of that, Champ, is that he may have won by 24 seconds, but without his time bonuses throughout the Vuelta, he actually would have lost to Carapaz, which is an interesting side note, because I would love to know a stat on when the last time was a Grand Tour was won off purely bonus time.
How do you feel about that?
Over the 18 stages, Roglič had won 48 seconds in time bonuses.
Yeah.
And Carapaz had won 16 seconds in time bonuses. So he
it came
had
down
him
to
by a
6
good
seconds.
32 seconds. Yeah.
Came down to 6 raw seconds. Yeah.
He came down to actually 6 actual seconds.
I mean, and that last stage 17, the last stage before their waltz through stage 18 was one of the more exciting stages I've seen in a while. Because Carapaz goes at the perfect time, and you're seeing the time just keeps on dropping and dropping and dropping, and this is what is going to get talked about for a while. Is so Primoz gets dropped. Sepp Kuss, his just never-ending lieutenant over the Tour and the Vuelta this year,
domestique, yep.
was absolutely cracked when the move started to go. So Sepp, for the first time, really, it was a hard, you see his head bobbing back and forth, and he just flicks his elbow, and Sepp goes out the back. But what happened was Carapaz, then once that group had skinnied down, really attacked hard coming out of a steep section with 2K almost on the dot left, knowing he has to get 45 seconds. I think he held it till pretty late, but it's easy to sit there armchair style and say, oh, he should have gone earlier. But he chose a perfect time to go. Primoz tries to get on his wheel, cannot do it, and all of a sudden, Primoz looks really isolated. And what happened was the two movie star riders ride up to Primoz, and they could have. Well, I'm not sure what the time was for Enric Mas trying to get on the podium, but it was Enric Mas and Marc Soler, and they both decided that they're going to pull Primoz along. So it was kind of a false flat, windy area, and Carapaz is putting time, just gobs of time into him. He's losing 10 seconds at a time. And all of a sudden, Roglic is drafting off of Mas and Soler and gets himself to where he can sprint with 500 meters left and ends up winning by, 20 seconds basically. But there's a good chance that if Enric Mas and Marc Soler were not there and not working for him, being movie star riders, then I don't think Primoz would have held on. I think Primoz would have lost that 20 seconds to Carapaz.
That's crazy.
Thank God he didn't, though, because Primoz deserved a Grand Tour win this year. If that man would have lost another Grand Tour on the last competitive day, that would have been unbelievable.
He had a pretty good year. He won the Vuelta. He took second at the Tour de France. He won Liège-Bastogne-Liège. It just fantastic year for him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Should be interesting to see what happens next year, too.
Would you say he's the best cyclist in pro cycling right now?
Probably for this year, yeah, I would say so.
I'd say it's top 3. I'm not gonna say he's the best cyclist. I think Pogačar, Alaphilippe, and Wout those are my top 3. Actually, I'd put Primoz 4th. I know that sounds bad to take the second place at Tour de France and bump him down, but you can't sit there and say that Wout doesn't deserve to be 1 or 2 after this year.
I don't disagree with that.
Those are some great names.
Yeah.
Cycling's good right now.
And it's hard to say that he's stronger than Pogačar after watching that time trial. I don't know. I can maybe say he had a more rounded. I could maybe say he had a more rounded year. But when they went head to head, clearly Pogačar was the better rider. And Alaphilippe just had one heck of a year too.
Yeah. He absolutely did.
Alaphilippe was in every important move since 2020 started, basically.
It's good times.
That is it for cycling news. There's actually a cool story in the Ironman world.
This is a triathlon podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
This is.
Matt, you want to take this one?
Sure. Although I do need to look up the guy's name. His name was Chris, and he has Down syndrome.
His name's Chris Nikic. Nikic. He's 21 years old from Florida.
And what was special about this is this was the first time someone with Down syndrome has finished a full Ironman distance race. And it looked like he finished with about 10 minutes to spare, something along those lines. They live broadcast it.
16:46. Yep. He had 14 minutes to spare.
Just really cool story. Seems like an amazing person. I did watch some of the interviews with him before he attempted the Ironman distance. And, it seems like it's a pretty cool situation for him because after this, they're going to be doing a lot of speaking engagements and things like that. So really inspirational story. And I know a lot of people were very interested in it, and a lot of people seem to be watching it live as it happened. I think Sunday evening. I think was a Sunday evening or Saturday? No, a Saturday evening.
Yep.
But really cool watching that and watching him cross the finish line. So.
Yeah, fantastic.
Being from a medical perspective, it's actually very interesting because once again, I love when the medical field gets proven just like starkly wrong, and we have to like reassess how we think of things. But even when I was in school, which was not terribly long ago, when we were going through, we spent time on Down syndrome as a condition, how you treat it from a physical exercise point of view, and I still even remember in the red flags there is. Intense aerobic activity and extended aerobic activity are considered markers that should not be part of Down syndrome treatment or, put into their protocols. I really hope we rethink that because, once again, I think we're proved starkly wrong. And there's definitely markers that put a Down syndrome patient at a disadvantage there. But for us as a medical field to say that, somebody with Down syndrome should not be doing this, I mean, Chris is at the age of 21, proven people wrong and absolutely breaking barriers. He also like fell in. I mean, I remember seeing some of his bike pictures. He's like bleeding out of his knee too. I think he fell pretty hard. I think it was coming out of the swim transition. I need to look up when that happened, but I'm pretty sure just bleeding from his knee for like 112 miles on the bike in a full marathon.
I know that the bike was one of the more challenging things for him, and I think it was a balance issue. I think he uses kind of mountain bike handlebars and things like that.
He was on a cruiser, basically.
And I remember one of the interviews prior to that the bike was difficult for him, not only because he would say, like, yeah, my butt was super sore, but also just because of balance issues and things like that. So.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And I mean, I just think alone, if you were to take a cruiser bike and do an Ironman, that would be an incredibly hard task. Down syndrome put aside, if you put somebody in a non-aero position for 112 miles, that's going to be not fun.
Yeah, it makes for a tough day. I will say that in our previous podcast, I mistakenly said that Daytona was this weekend coming up, and I know we corrected it later on in the podcast, but this is the race that I was getting it mixed up with, the Ironman Florida Full.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan, you'll know this. I'm trying to think. Like Matt Hansen was second, and Sam Long was third.
Chris Lieferman,
and I can't remember the guy that won it.
Chris Lieferman took home the win.
Lieferman?
So Chris Lieferman's one of my favorite just Ironman pros in the American scene because he is so quiet. The guy never makes any noise. He then goes out last year, wins Ironman 70.3 Boulder. Not getting run down by Tyler Butterfield, which is an amazing task in itself. Tyler Butterfield's an incredibly fast runner. And Lieferman just always, he's a good swimmer. He comes onto the bike. He will put down the fastest bike in any race that he's in. And he did that in Ironman Florida. He dropped Sam Long. Now, Sam Long had to get off the bike and stretch because he was having some low back issues, but...
Is that what happened? See, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, he lost about 4 minutes. He had to get off the bike and stretch his back. But I think that was also because Lieferman was really pushing at that point. And I think
too much gravel racing.
Exactly, too much upright racing. But it was Chris comes off the bike and throws down a 2:50 marathon in Florida, which is fast. And Sam Long was coming though. Him and Matt Hansen both. Matt Hansen ran a 2:41, which is just mind blowing. And Sam came off the bike, limped through the first mile, and then ran a 2:45. So, I mean, America's got three super. And Matt Russell was right there in the conversation as well.
Okay. What about on the women's side? I didn't see anything as far as results go.
I did not recognize the name of the woman who won, but I know really well the woman who was in second, Sky Monch, who had a great day too and ran a PR run for herself. So great work from Sky.
Katrina Matthews was the one who won.
Okay.
I actually did not recognize her.
Must have been good because times were pretty fast.
Yeah, and to beat Sky is pretty impressive because Sky is no joke, and she's one of the best cyclists in the female field just in any race she jumps into.
Katrina went 8:40 and beat Sky by 6 minutes.
8:40 is flying. That is flying. That beat a good portion of the men's field actually too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been.
She's somebody we need to watch out for.
She would have been 12th in the men's pro field.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She would have been right in there. I was gonna say I know a lot of those guys who were, mid-pack guys who have smoked me and were like sitting 850s. It's Florida's you'd think it'd be a fast day, but it's only a fast day if you're feeling good. If things start to go south in Florida, it can be really, really bad. It can be a long day. And the wind really, really plays an impact on the bike too. So there can be fast bike times, but you got to hold the aero position for a long time, which can be tough.
I've done that course twice, and it is pancake flat. There is no elevation gain, so you are down in the aero bars the whole time.
Yeah, which always sounds awesome until you're there for that long, and then you're like, "Oh man, a hill would be great."
And you don't blame Sam Long for like getting off the bike and like stretching for a bit.
Sure,
so.
Yeah. I mean, good for Matt Hansen to throw a 241 after hanging out in the aero position for that long is just ridiculous too. In second place, good for him.
That's pretty crazy. That is it for your sports update. Champ Bailey out.
Really?
He's out. All
He's out.
Let us do a quick Patreon thing. We're not going to do a drawing today. That will be next week again. I want to do something next week. Another cool one. I think I'm all caught up. Everybody's got all their little Patreon goodies that they've won in the recent Patreon giveaway drawing thing. So that part's good. Next week we'll do another little drawing. So if you are interested in becoming a Patreon, go to dialpodcast.com and follow the Patreon link there. And I just wanted to say a big thank you again to all 16 of our Patreons. It's awesome. I still have to pinch myself that people care that much and they want to be a part of that. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. All right. Moving on. Anything else, guys? Got all this mumbo jumbo stuff out of the way?
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
My body's on fire. My body's on fire.
Guess what, guys? It's the hot seat. The hot seat's back. All right. Should we Rochambeau to see who's going to go first today? You guys got something good up your sleeve? What do we want to do here?
I'll go first. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Lance and I are doing Rochambeau on one.
Ready?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, we both did scissors, so Matt gets to go.
Okay. I win, so I get to go.
Yep.
I have a question for you guys.
Bring it.
Round the table, best winter gear for cycling. And specifically, I want to hear about gloves. I want to hear about jacket and potentially booties or something like that. You can leave something out, but like, tell me what you like. Tell me what you're loving. Tell me what I should consider. Especially because some of this stuff does make a decent Christmas gift as well.
Gotcha. Go ahead, guys. Evan?
The Castelli gloves I just wore this weekend were great. The God, Jake would know the name of them. Right?
Are those the Rain or Shines? They're OS?
They were the fleece-lined ones.
I'm gonna go look. You keep talking about them.
Yeah, they weren't nearly as bulky. Like in the past, every single cycling glove I get is so bulky. It's just very, very, very bulky. This was, I mean, it was almost like an underlayer. Yeah. It was those. Oh geez.
And they said it rained, right? It rained on you this weekend?
Yeah. It did. The Dillavio Sea Glove. Castelli, who I probably butchered the name of that, I'm sure. But they were great.
You're Italian. Get it right, dude.
They were great. Oh yeah, I never was fluent in Italian though, so being Italian doesn't really matter if you can't actually speak the language. But yeah, they wicked out the moisture really, really well too. And it wasn't pouring raining, but it was raining enough to be a good solid test on them.
That's the glove that I wore on Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was
it's a good glove.
It was upper 30s. It was wet, and they do really well.
They do. I was still able to grab stuff out of my. I could feel my hands the entire time, which is really the only part that matters. Yeah.
And there are some other gloves that Castelli make that work really well too when it gets even a little bit colder. But I think those are probably going to be your best all-around glove.
Mm-hmm. The electronic shifting too just makes it better in the cold. I never realized how much that hard click we used to have to do with mechanical shifting.
Yeah.
Actually was not fun when you cannot feel your hands at all. I used to avoid shifting in really, really cold weather just because I couldn't tell what gear you were in or if you actually clicked it or not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
Well, I don't have a great answer just because this, I'm looking for stuff that's decent right now. Hence the question for you guys. Running wise, I feel like you can get away with like a lot less. And, like there's like a pair of Nike pants that I don't even know if they make anymore that I've worn for running. It's fantastic. I do tend to go for Castelli stuff just because I feel like if you can flip the bill for it, it is expensive, but the quality tends to be there.
Yeah, they get it. They understand what it's like to ride in the extreme weathers. I don't know. I haven't really ridden in their stuff too much when it's like down in the 20s because I generally just stay inside. But anything from like freezing, like 32 and up, I generally try and stay out inside when it's freezing or below, because I don't want to hit any ice and fall down. But they do a really good job. They get it. They understand how to ward off precipitation, how to keep you warm, insulate you, how to layer, how to keep the wind off of you. So there's quite a few different things that they build or make that work really well. There's a pair of booties that there's two pairs of booties. So I'm actually the guy that's got 4 pairs of booties, and I have a pair of booties for just about every kind of weather condition that Mother Nature can throw at you. The ones that I wore this past Saturday when it was, I believe, 37 degrees out in Washougal and raining and it was cold, were called the Estremos, and they are super warm. They kept my feet dry. My toes didn't freeze up. My feet didn't feel like pegs when I got off the bike. Granted, it was a tiny bit cold, but we were hitting water. My feet did good. Now, the downside to those are they're extremely expensive. I want to say that they're like $150 or something like that for a pair.
$169.99.
There you go.
That's a lot for a pair of booties.
It is, but you know what? When you come back and you could feel your feet and you didn't think about it once while you were out on your ride, you're like, all right, that makes sense, and that's worth it to me. But they have another pair too for when it's a little bit warmer that do pretty well, that aren't nearly as expensive, called the ROS, the Rain or Shine booties. Those work pretty well as well.
That's funny. I have 3 favorite pieces of cold weather gear or wet weather gear, and they're all from Castelli as well. One is those ROS shoe covers from Castelli. I find those to be great. The other is they have this black long sleeved base layer that has like a thermal wind covering for your chest.
Yep, I have a couple of those. Wore one on Saturday.
Yeah, and they kind of have a mock turtleneck top, so it's actually pretty warm. Quite often, if it's like 40 degrees, I will wear that and a jacket, nothing else, and it's enough, because that wind jersey is really nice. And the other thing is their gloves, and I gotta say, I use 2 different kinds of gloves, a dry set and a wet set. If it's raining, I usually use a neoprene or a waterproof type glove. But if it's dry, the what are they called? The Spetacola ROS glove from Castelli. Those ones, man, I can ride in like 15-degree weather and my hands stay warm. Yeah. But they're not that great when it's wet. So,
well, they do a pretty good job on their website too of breaking down how each piece does in all the different conditions. I mean, they're talking about temperature and precipitation and wind, and they pretty much give you a really good idea. And I've come to find that they're usually pretty right. They're usually pretty spot on with how they're going to do in that respective weather.
Yeah,
cool.
Those are my favorite 3 pieces.
Cool. Did we all answer that one?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I just I think I'm just gonna make some purchases, and I don't know if it's gonna be Christmas gifts or what, but it seems like something good to have.
Cool. Yep. We like our Castelli, and there's some other good stuff out there too. That DNA, they make some good things as well that are good for the
DNA's thermal jersey was great. I was wearing that this weekend too.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't even have it. I had just like no jersey, anything underneath it, just that, and it was perfect.
Gotcha. Mr. Hepler.
Yeah, my first question is actually very much related to that, and I had written this down this morning. Was what is your temperature limit for riding outside? How cold will you go right outside?
I don't know. That question's pretty hot. Hold on.
My behind is burning. I'm sorry. I'm literally frying.
Oh, man. That was a hot question.
Do we do a range, or is this like an over-under? It has to be an over-under. I'll say 18-year-old me would have I think I rode once in sub-zero. It was sub-zero. I actually do remember. It was sub-zero weather. That was in Ada, Ohio, and there was about a foot of snow. So I grabbed my buddy's mountain bike, tuned it up, put on every bit of winter clothes I could, and went and rode around where the cross-country track was and just rode circles around there. So 18-year-old me would say there is not a temperature. Me right now, 36. Not going outside below 36. More than a decade later, I'm very, very soft now.
Yeah. I'm going to say on the road bike, I'll go down to about where Evan's at, about 36 degrees.
Yeah,
below,
I'm not messing around with sub.
Below that, I'm staying inside for a couple reasons. A, it's too damn cold.
Yeah.
And then B, I can't chance going down. My body just will not take that. My shoulder will like divorce me, which probably wouldn't be a bad thing in this day and age, but I just can't chance ice. And the other temperature I would say that I'll go down to about 30 degrees on would be the mountain bike.
Mountain bike, yeah.
Just because that's kind of fun. When the ground's frozen, it's kind of crunchy and you're not dealing with ice. That's actually kind of fun to ride on. And you're not going so fast that the wind's blowing over you and it's really causing you to have even more of a chill about you. So I'll go down to about 30 degrees, and that's just going to be sparingly. I'm not going to do that all the time.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
Well, for running, I'll go super cold. I ran, I think when it was in Michigan, I lived in Michigan for 4 years. And, that was one of the years I don't think I took any days off. With one of those years within the 4 years that I lived in Michigan, I remember the coldest was something along the lines of -17.
Oh my God. That's very, very, I mean, that's like every year in Michigan though. You're going to get a day with wind chill, Matt, like you knew better than anybody. It's it's going to be below -10.
No. Yeah. This was
God,
straight up temperature -17. And then I ran out on this sod farm. So there was a good bit of wind as well.
Oh, that's terrible.
So that was cold. And I just remember thinking that was
did you have yak tracks on?
You can do that. You're tough,
Did you throw yak tracks on or your spikes, or did you just run out in just your normal shoes and kind of
in the winter in Michigan, everything's pretty frozen. And so basically there was a block of 3 or 4 months where I would leave the yak tracks on my shoes, which yak tracks, some people love them, some people hate them. But I like them quite a bit. They're kind of like little chains for your shoes. And I don't think that they're that obtrusive unless there's no snow or ice. When you're running on them, on regular roads, I think they're a little bit annoying. And so sometimes you have mixed ice, mixed road. And, I think they're good. I would highly recommend people check them out if they're considering running on icy conditions. So yeah, I did that, made it through some pretty tough winters. Cycling, I am the biggest baby by far. So I will say that there are some winters that I made it through the winter riding outside regularly, every weekend. But I don't, I really was just made a commitment one year, maybe 3 years ago, and I haven't done that since. I don't know. And now Zwift and indoor riding is so good. I just don't feel like you have to. So, I'll say maybe at 40 degrees, I'll draw the line just depending on whether or not I want to go test out something or wind conditions, because I think that if it's really windy, it can be even, significantly colder in one particular direction. And then I also think it depends on the ride that you're doing. If you're climbing, it's sometimes you get really hot climbing and you get really freezing going down. So you want to go find flatter routes. But yeah, so, depending on conditions, I would say, maybe 40-ish degrees or something like that.
Let me add a layer to that question, though. Is there a lower number that you're willing to put up with? Because I think we're automatically defaulting in our head that cold temperatures equate to crappy weather. What if it's bright, sunny sky, but it's 25 degrees? Are you going to go outside?
Maybe. I mean, it all depends on how badly we're missing that sun, because here in the Pacific Northwest, I do feel like a lot of us just crave the sun. And one of our favorite pastimes is taking our bike to go collect that sun. Yeah. And so if it's been 2 or 3 weeks without seeing the sun, which really can happen here, you're, and it's, I don't know if it's 25. I don't know if I would go that cold, but if it's if it's 30 degrees or 35 degrees and sunny and you're I just want to go out there, then you'll just suck it up and do it. Again, I think, depending on wind conditions also, I sometimes think the wind can really bite more than anything else.
Oh,
but
yeah.
man, the sun, collecting that sun is nice. I'm looking at Lance right now, just in the high desert. And then I look outside my window here and just see the rain. So, yeah, I know we're in for like 2 weeks of solid rain here. And I might be changing my answer once we get to the end of that.
Cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, for me, on the road, Matt kind of put it perfectly for me. If I'm going to go road biking, if it is bright, sunny, I'll go down to like 10 degrees. I'll just load up, and if it's bright, sunny, I'll go pretty cold. If it's wet out, I might only go down to 40 degrees if I'm doing the road bike. On the mountain bike, I don't have a limit because like Jake said, it's very different. I did a 16-mile mountain bike ride this morning, and the reason I chose to ride the mountain bike is because it was 38 degrees when I left. But it was dry here. The trails were fantastic. The dirt was perfect. When it's cold like that, I can take the dog with me because nobody else is out here. And she can run 15 miles with me on a mountain bike trail if it's cold. If it's above like 70 degrees, she can only do like 5 miles. She totally overheats. But I had a blast with the dog this morning riding on the mountain bike. So I don't really have a...
Those are pretty big miles for Piper.
Yeah, she went hard this morning, and she is not... If you can see her, she's just sitting in the front seat with me, smiling, wanting to go back out. Piper, chill. You're done for the day. You're done. I know.
A little high five for you. Awesome. That was a good question. So a hot, cold
That's
question.
Perfect temperature for the dogs. God, the dogs are probably like 20, 30 degrees less than whatever we would think for this.
Yeah. Mr. Price.
What is everybody's primary focus this offseason in terms of a weakness that you see in yourself? Don't think of this as a life question. This is so we'll nail it down to me and Matt can answer triathlon questions, but we'll say Jake and Lance have to answer in their cycling game. Going into the spring season, let's say. So I don't want Lance to say like, oh, I need to work on getting over barriers for his 400-year cyclocross training plan.
All right, hold on.
It should not be so damn hot that I'm up here having dreams about me being on fire.
That was another hot question, Evan.
Jake's got these all lined up right now. He's got like a bank of 50 of them.
So what is our off-season goal?
Off-season weakness you want to work on.
My off-season weakness, probably I need to clean up my diet, and I need to drop. I need to seriously drop down, and I need to get down into like the upper 170s, right around 180. I need to be there,
okay.
And I had a constant reminder this past weekend of that. When we went out, we're riding in the hills of Washougal, 4,000 feet of climbing on that ride.
A lot of climbing, yeah.
And I'm watching everybody pedal away from me, and I'm looking down at my watts. I'm like, I'm putting down good watts, but damn it, I can't climb.
Yeah.
I'm just too heavy.
Yeah.
And I got back and I started looking through some stuff, and I was talking with Sean yesterday. I'm like, hey, what was your normalized power yesterday? What kind of average watts were you putting out? What were, just this, that, and the other, watching him and Handel and everybody else ride away from me. I'm like, I put out significantly more watts than you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going the other direction.
And you showed it on the flats from what I was hearing, and just dragging us up to that first climb anyway. So
yeah. I mean, if I can get down to like the upper 170s, right around 180 pounds, I can put down the watts to keep up. Now, I'll never get down to your weight, and for me to get down there, it's going to be a tough chore. I'm going to have to be super disciplined. But if I want to ever have a chance at racing competitively again on a road bike, if I can get my shoulder to mind its P's and Q's, I need to get back down to that weight. And that's where I was at when I was having really good success, winning lots of bike races and getting kicked out of the Cat 3s into the Cat 2s and being able to hang out with those guys. I need to get back there. That's what I'm going to work on this off season.
Boom. It's a specific answer. Good. Lance.
Mine, my weakness is pretty clear to me as far as road biking for the spring, and that's repeatable VO2 efforts. I guess that's really quite specific, but if my FTP is in the 330 range, I want to be able to do 2 or 3 minute efforts at 400 watts so that I can bridge to the break. I can attack on a climb. I could try to stay with the group on a climb and attack at the top of a climb. I think that's specifically what I'm going to
come home and I'll play bikes with you. We'll do
there
that
you go.
ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
hurt. VO2 efforts hurt. I did so many this week prepping for this race, and oh my gosh, it certainly helped.
Yeah.
Cyclocross is a great way to train that, really. I mean, you're going constantly in and out of that zone. Very rarely, and I mean, Lance would know this better than me, being somebody who never raced cyclocross. I'd imagine very rarely in cyclocross are you sitting comfortably at tempo pace. You're either well above it or well below it.
Correct. There is no. I try to keep my normalized power in a cyclocross race over 300, and that's actually really hard to do because you're coasting into corners. You're coasting downhill.
Are you talking about average power or normalized power?
Yeah,
average power.
Normalized power.
Normalized deducts the zeros, the coasting.
Yeah, but what happens is you're pushing it like 100 watts into the corner.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because if you're pushing too hard, your wheel skids out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So trying to keep that above 300 is actually it's been pretty hard for me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, every straight, I'm pushing 450 watts, even if it's like a 3-minute, uphill. Any short uphill, I'm pushing 800 watts. So trying to do those efforts at above 400 watts for me, I think would just help my whole game a bit more.
More matches. You need more matches. There you go.
How about you, Matt?
I think, I don't really have a lot of weaknesses. My weaknesses are also my strengths.
Yes. Maybe you should weaken your strengths then, so then you just don't have any weaknesses or strengths, and it's just dead across the board even.
Yeah. Like Jake, I need to lose some weight, which is something that I'm fairly confident I can do that. But I think something that I need to work with Evan on potentially is, being able to run consistently. And it doesn't have to be high mileage, but, ideally 20 to 30 miles should be very realistic, and it doesn't take that much for my running to come along when I'm actually able to run. And unfortunately, with the Achilles stuff that I'm dealing with, I've got to figure out a way to get past that. And so that's my main focus right now, is just figuring out a way to do that. Whether, I hope that's not like surgery, but if it is. But I got to figure that out, because basically, not being able to walk after a 2-mile jog on the track is just not realistic. And so hopefully I'll figure that out, ideally before this spring, so that I can kind of start to think about racing. So that's my plan of attack. And also just being consistent and getting into, I'd say all I have to do for swimming is just get in the pool and the workouts come along. And then on the bike side of things, I could definitely stand to be a good bit more disciplined with just having specific workouts and a bit more of a training plan, like a little bit more of a structured training plan. Lance and I, we've talked about that forever. Training programs, got your 3-year plan. But having some sort of structured workouts, I think, is great. And the 100-day challenge has been good for me. But I think the next step after that is probably like a little bit more structured training. So those are the things that I need to work on, to have some sort of spring/summer season, where I can kind of just have fun. And I don't have to win races or even set personal records or race the times that I did 3 years ago. I would just like to be able to participate. So,
I think you need to go win.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably be one of those situations where I can win the duathlon or the aqua bike or something like that. But, I don't know that I will be as fit as I was a couple years back.
I'm looking forward to watching you get there, though, or at least get as close to that as you possibly can, because, man, you were a hell of a lot of fun to ride with when you were really banging on all cylinders. I still remember those Monday nights where we would go out to Vancouver Lake and just hammer the crap out of each other on bikes, and you were strong. So it's going to be fun to watch you get back to that. Hopefully.
We'll see.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I think we all answered that one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that mean it's my turn?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. That's kind of an easy one. What is on your Christmas wish list? What is on your Christmas wish list? That's a pretty hot question, right?
I got a bad one, and it's so sad that I have so much camera stuff.
That's a really hot question, Matt. Hold on a second.
Hold your thought there, Matt.
Comes. Oh, hot, 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 hot. Hot, 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 hot.
I actually know the exact episode, show, and character.
We won't allude to what he was actually doing right there, but
anybody who is listening to this and knows the exact show, episode, and character that is referencing, you get all the kudos. You get all the comment on wherever we post this, and I will give you 1 million Strava kudos.
Oh. Okay, Matt, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, should we keep this to cycling stuff, or do you want to get into camera stuff?
It'd be on whatever you want, man.
I always want some camera stuff. I definitely want, I was watching this review of this 24mm lens, and I was like, oh, that looks so good, the Sony 24.
You need to get whatever Lagerstrom just got.
Stuff, so I feel...
You need to get whatever camera Eric just got. Did you see his video yet?
That's the A7S III.
Matt already has that.
You already have that?
I don't have that yet, but I ordered it when it first came out.
Oh,
so.
I thought you already had it. Oh, that's a bummer. You're still waiting on that thing, huh?
Yeah, I think it's going to come towards mid to end of this month, so soon. Yeah.
Why did Eric get his first?
He knows someone at Sony.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Basically, that camera is just sold out everywhere, and it's hard to get a hold of. It's a good camera for sure.
It's like finding a pair of 4% now.
But I got this discount on it, and I think maybe that bumped me because I got this discount on it. I think that they fulfilled the orders of people that paid full price before they fulfilled the orders of people that got discounts. And then there's that huge demand for that particular camera. And so I ended up getting bumped pretty far back. So that's okay. I'm willing to wait. I have great working cameras. I'm excited about that camera. It'll change the way I do some of the videos that I make. Yeah, and I talked to Eric Lagerstrom about that camera quite a bit, as he was thinking about buying it. So I think that will be super fun. I should not want more camera stuff, but somehow I do. Bike-wise, I don't actually need anything bike-wise because I'm just going to steal Lance's mountain bike. I'm going to walk into his garage, walk away with a brand new bike. I'm going to put under the tree with a little bow.
It's there waiting for you, Matt.
A stolen bike for Christmas. What else could you possibly want?
Love it.
Yeah, maybe some warm cycling gear like we talked about previously. That would be fantastic.
Cool. How about you, Lance? What's on your Christmas wish list?
The one thing I do want is a set of Envy wheels for my road bike. That is on my Christmas wish list. So Envy's got great wheels. They're just so expensive that I've never really pulled the trigger on them. But, oh, man, that's
nice. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
I think there might be some coming one of these years.
Working on it.
Yeah. How about you, Evan?
So mine actually, my biking, cycling wise, I think me and Cassie make each other the Garmin Varia. That'll be just a gift we get each other. But running wise, I'm actually getting, and these are early Christmas presents, and they're almost presents to myself. I'm getting the Saucony Endorphin Pro to race in this upcoming year, which is basically Saucony's answer to the 4%, the next percents. Anybody who follows enough of this, the running shoe, it's almost like a arms war here over the last year. I know Matt has noticed this too. Is like everybody's got a carbon plate. Everybody's got this Zoom X foam that's basically this stacked up foam that just allows that carbon spring to, almost creating an athletic advantage. I think it's whether it's inspiring some of these records or if these are just the running world's getting faster. I'm not sure, but everybody's racing in them, so it's time to definitely grab one. And then I'm going to get a pair of track shoes here too, the Nike Matumbos, coming up in the next week or two. So that's basically it from like triathlon perspective. I'm not getting new goggles. I'm not a huge fan of getting new goggles just because I got a weird face. So I got to make sure I have the ones that always fit well. And bike stuff, I've already got the road bike I want. So no, outside of that, nothing.
Cool. I guess I'll go.
Yep.
For Christmas, I want some FTP, some watts per kilogram.
I'll take 20 watts. Yeah.
I'm like Matt. I'm jonesing for some more camera stuff because we're trying to do this whole YouTube thing, and there's some little devices that I want to get to help us through that project to come up with some more creative stuff to get some more creative footage. Matt probably knows about these two, the DJI Ronin. Well, their RS2 and their RSC2 are a couple of the new gimbals that just came out. I think I might want to get one of those.
Yeah. I think that those are pretty impressive. They are beautiful little gimbals.
Yep.
I think the compact one, the smaller one, might be better for our particular cameras just because it is a lighter setup.
Yeah.
And that might be nice to be able to take and move around. I think that the heavy one has some advantages, like, the being able to have that follow focus. I think that's neat. I just don't think it's something that I would end up using that often.
Correct. So it's got some cool things, and I've been watching all of the videos trying to kind of go back and forth and figure out which one might make the most sense. And I've been leaning towards the smaller one, the one that's a little bit more compact, just because it's easier to pack and take with, and it's going to do all of the things that you need it to do. And there's just a couple little bells and whistles that come with it that you probably won't use all that often, so maybe doesn't justify that little heavier price tag. And I do need to get a little slider too. So I don't know, Matt, you and I should sit down and just talk camera gear.
Totally.
I'm with you. So you guys have anything else that you want for Christmas? Anything small? How about like a small little accessory? Not a big ticket item, just a small thing. I'm personally ready for a new
what's good?
New sunglasses for me, but yeah, go ahead.
I just got some. Yeah.
What's good is I reviewed the Polar OH1 Plus heart rate monitor, and it's like just the optical heart rate monitor. It's like the strap. It's kind of like the Wahoo Ticker. Wait, is it called the Ticker? The Wahoo Ticker one that does that?
Yeah.
Those things are great. I don't know why. Like, it's not that big of a deal to strap on a chest strap. But the fact that you can just slide this little thing on your wrist or arm makes it so much easier, and I just grab it on my way out the door. I literally have a heart rate monitor sitting next to my Zwift setup, and I never use it. It's a great heart rate monitor. It's way better than any of the optical heart rate monitor stuff. But having just like a little one that you slide on your arm for some reason is so appealing to me, and maybe I'm weird that way. But that was an item that I reviewed, and I gave it away because I reviewed it. Now I want one.
So I've been using the little it's called the Ticker Fit, which is the one that goes on your forearm or your arm or your bicep, wherever you want to do it. And I've been using that since that came out. I will only wear that when I'm on the trainer. I mean, I'm not going to ride with it outside because I don't know, that just feels awkward. And I'm fine with wearing a regular chest strap one. But when I'm on the trainer, I don't like wearing the heart rate monitor as a chest strap. For some reason, it doesn't sit right on me because I'm usually wearing like a t-shirt and it's not held firm to me. So I've been using that little arm one, and the cool little caveat to that thing is, you don't have to put batteries in it. It just, it's rechargeable, so it works really well that way. But my wife uses it as well, and we can share the same heart rate monitor, and it's just a simple little put on it, and you strap it down. You don't have to do any kind of like crazy adjustments, so we can share the same little heart rate monitor. Now, if we're going to ride it at the same time, that might be a bit of a problem, but it's kind of nice because it's just there. We can both use it. It works extremely well. You just put it on your arm. It's not uncomfortable, and it's good to go. Just my 2 cents on that guy.
Yeah, good call. And I think it'll make a good stocking stuff because it's not huge.
Yep.
So
yeah, it definitely is more accurate than the watch. What is with Matt? You can speak.
My watch numbers have been all over the place lately.
So when I'm riding on the bike, my watch never seems to have the correct heart rate. But if I'm just cruising around, walking around, sitting, sedentary, whatever, the watch is pretty accurate. Why is it that when I'm on the bike, it just doesn't work the same? It's always like 20, 30, 40 beats lower.
I have some theories, and it's because your arms are down and you're putting weight on your arms. But generally speaking, you're taking your heart rate at the wrist, which is just not the most ideal spot to take your heart rate. So anywhere further up, you're getting more meat. You're getting able to see like a good bit more blood flow, which is what the watch needs to see to be able to predict the heart rate correctly. So,
gotcha.
Even if you wore your watch up higher, it would work fantastic. It just doesn't make any sense to wear your watch like that. So, Yeah, I think that my experience is exactly like yours, Jake. Basically, I just throw it out the window when I'm on the bike. Running, it's okay. But all the other times, like when you're around the house and stuff like that, it's perfect. So.
Gotcha. Do you ever, when you're running, wear a heart rate monitor strap and then pair that to a watch, or is that something that you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell everyone, like, if you are basing your workout on heart rate, or you really want accurate heart rate data and you want to be able to see, like, if you're starting a 400 meter or whatever, you like start your repeat, like you need to be able to see those spikes. Like you really need a heart rate strap across the chest.
Gotcha.
Or maybe a potentially, that optical one that is up higher on your arm. The wrist-based stuff is not going to cut it. But if you are more like us and we're like, hey, we really care about our power numbers and those are great, then wrist-based heart rate monitor is fine. It'll show you roughly some, estimates of where you are, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So.
Gotcha. So just one more layer to that question. I generally find that, again, that the heart rate monitor on my strap is pretty dead on. The wrist one on the watch is quite a bit lower. Is there ever a time where you would see the watch showing you higher numbers than what it actually is?
Well, what you see is not typically, but it's more of a especially as you start and things kind of warm up, you'll see a delay from the optical heart rate monitor catching up to the chest based heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
So that is really where you'll see it being like significantly lower typically, and this is just like what most people will see. Again, everyone can be different. These are their hearts we're talking about here. But yeah, so if you're seeing like your spikes be more accurate with the chest heart rate strap, and the delay of the optical wrist-based heart rate monitor, that would be pretty normal.
Gotcha. The reason why I ask is because my wife pretty often sees some weird heart rate numbers. Like usually, sometimes it's kind of on the high side, and it seems like it's higher than what it would normally be. And I don't think I don't know if it's like the equipment that she's using, if it's just giving her a reading error. And I've been telling her for a while that she just needs to pair a standard heart rate monitor to her watch and really kind of get some more accurate numbers that way.
Well, especially if she's like trying to figure out her heart rate zones, or if she's training based on heart rate zones or anything like that, I would say like, yeah, you need to probably try a different system. Like the wrist is not going to cut it.
Gotcha.
My Whoop strap, which I've been wearing for a couple years, is consistently about 10 beats higher than I actually think it should be.
Interesting.
And compared to my my chest strap, so my heart rate on my wrist is always higher.
Gotcha. What other little small thing? You guys got any other little small things? I'm just putting that out there because we've got like Black Friday coming up. We've got Christmas holiday seasons coming, and people are asking questions when they come into the lab here. Like, I'm thinking about getting something for my significant other or my kid or my whatever. What else can we get?
I'm always curious to try new bars and gels.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, food for the bike, because I go through a lot of that stuff, and so I'm always curious to see what stuff tastes good, what stuff works well, and so trying new things there is always interesting to me.
Gotcha. How about you, Evan?
We're looking at a bike stand. Physically, that's not a small thing, but that's something that a lot of people. That's like that little thing that I think can help a lot if you're looking for that cyclist who has everything. If they don't have a bike stand, that's not a bad purchase.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about like a mechanic stand, or are you just talking about a place to park your bike?
No. Like a mechanic stand. We have hooks and stuff like that already for the bikes, but having somewhere we can actually hook up the bike and work on it if we need to, or clean it, makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Any other hot seat questions that anybody would like to ask before we move on? Bueller. All right. I'm going to take that as a no. All right, let's jump into our one last thing. Evan, do you want to go first?
Not too much one last things. Thursday, we have another 4:30 a.m. ride if anybody wants to join.
How's that been coming? You've been getting a few people, yeah?
Yeah. It's been last week. It was the week before that we had, I think, almost 5 people.
Wow.
Jump into it. Lisa Worms was there too, which was cool. This last week it was me, Nate, and Josh. Was there anybody else with us? Carlos was there too. That'll probably be the same crew this next week. Cassie gets on the train right when I'm done usually. But, yeah, outside of that, not too many people. So if we can get even more than 5, that'd be amazing at that time.
If you were doing that ride today, I probably would have been able to join you.
Yeah,
did not sleep well last night.
Monday morning, 4:30. I'm not going to make a Monday 4:30 a.m.
Lance, one last thing.
I just hope everybody stays safe. I know that COVID cases are spiking, and we need to be careful about how we're socially distancing with people. And I'm more or less speaking to myself because I'm the idiot that's out traveling, and I'm just trying to stay safe as I possibly can.
So real quick, the next 2 weeks of cyclocross are canceled. What
Yes.
What are your plans? Are you staying out there? Are you going to come home, or what's the deal?
Our plan is to come home for my father has a doctor's appointment that I need to take him to, and so that's in like a week and a half. And so our plan is to be home for that for a couple days, and then other than that, we're gonna try to stay out in BLM land, out in wilderness. So.
Cool. Mr. Legrand.
Yeah, I always have a video, and I have this past week I posted something basically talking about how I make all of the videos and like camera gear I use. I put it out to the group like, hey, what videos do you guys want to see? And that one was one that people had constantly been asking me about, like, what did you do? How did you make this? What gear did you use? So that is out there. That is live. And then I'm going to have some watch reviews coming up again. I know I've been doing a ton of watch reviews. But then shortly thereafter, I think the one that people will be interested in will be a video talking about the new BMC. And I'll probably actually talk about the 2021 edition as well. Mm-hmm. The one that I have hanging up behind me here is the 2020 edition. But the new one that they announced, I'll at least mention like the changes and things like that they made when I do that video. So that'll be fun.
Gotcha. Cool. My one last thing is I just wanted to do a little shout out to Matt for his consistency with his YouTube channel. I'm coming to find very quickly that is a big, tall ask to do something on a weekly basis. My goal, and I've mentioned this before in the last week or two, is that I would like to get out something weekly as well, and I'm trying to get it out on the weekends. Lance and I put together a little video, and we did the talking head component of it, and it was one of those things when it was done, I'm like, all right, this is probably going to be like 20 minutes. I can probably pare it down and get it into some usable amount of time that someone's not going to look at it and go, oh my God, I'm not going to sit here and waste half my life on this. So we finished this. I put it all together. I'm like, are you kidding me? We just talked for 45 minutes about indoor trainers. So I had to whittle that thing down, and I've got it down to about 20 minutes, and I've got all of the effects and the graphics and the videos and the transitions and the music and all of the color grading. All that stuff is pretty much done. There's just a little bit of polish that I need to put on it, and that will get posted up hopefully later tonight. But while I'm going through this, thinking to myself, I'm like, Matt's a busy dude. He's got 3 young boys. He's coaching cross country. He's being a husband, and he's got a full-time job that's been kicking his backside, building apps and doing all this other crazy stuff. Yet he still manages to put together a fantastic video every single week. And it's not just a video where it's just him sitting there talking and he's going to say, oh yeah, it's just, no, he takes the time and he makes it very artistic. He puts a lot of thought into it. It's very well thought out, and it's intelligent, and it's beautiful. So I just wanted to give Matt a little bit of props on such a good job.
Thanks for that, Jake. I appreciate it, but I will also say that I feel like I fail on every front imaginable. So it's like, can you do one thing good or 20 things bad? I choose 20 things bad.
Well, I would have to disagree with you. I think that you do a fantastic job. So just keep up the good work.
Yes, he does.
If you haven't checked out Matt's YouTube channel, Matt, where can they go to see you?
It's on the YouTubes, youtube.com/mlegrand, MLEGRAND. Thanks for helping me promote the channel.
This has been brought to you by YouTube.
Yeah, just tell me where to pay tell me where to sign the check and put it in the mail, and I'll get my sponsorship deal.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch the last video that Matt put out, though. He used this incredible piece of equipment that got these spectacular shots called the Vaughn Gimbal. It's a pretty cool thing. The Vaughn Gimbal.
That's in almost every video now, Jake. It's like all the shots. I'll just hand him my GoPro, and we'll be biking together, and he'll like get whatever product I'm looking for or whatever shot I'm looking for, and then I'm like, this is good again. I have to use this, and it's always like, if you think about it, the top shot is always going to be like the end of the intro, right? Like that's always like my favorite shot, right? Like whatever my favorite shot is, like that's the one I put it there at the end of the intro. And it's been Jake's behind the camera every single time. So, you know, just tell me where to send the check and get it away.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. All right, well, that's a wrap on podcast number 142. 8 more until 150. We got to start seriously talking about what we're going to do at 150 and actually figure out when that's going to be. So it's 8 weeks from now, so 2 months.
Cool.
Crazy. That's going to be what, January? Beginning somewhere around the New Year.
Almost New Year weekend, is it?
2021, somewhere in there. So anyway, we really appreciate all of you guys and gals and everybody else listening. We will see you next week. Bye for now.